Alright guys, welcome back to another episode of Muddy River Catfishing. A long time ago, before I started using the yo-yo fishing reel, I sat down and I thought about a way, because I wanted to set something up similar to the yo-yo that I could leave out overnight that would be self-setting. And one of the first things that I had learned about was using a piece of bicycle inner tube in between your line. And that wasn't self-setting, but what it would do is it would give when the fish would hook it. Once it was hooked, it would have that stretch so that the hook wouldn't be able to get pulled or yanked straight out of the fish's mouth. And that worked okay, but not to what I was hoping for. Reason being is I would find a lot of empty hooks, and so I thought I need something it's going to set itself. So I actually came up with a little invention myself. I mean, it may exist out there somewhere else, but I have never seen it, and I call it the cat trap. That's just what I nicknamed it. And all I did is I took a spring. This is the same spring that, if you've seen my modified yo-yo fishing reel video, that's the same spring that I use in that one. And I wanted something that would have give, but could also work in both directions. If this was pulled out and you let it go, it recoils. And once the fish is hooked, it stretches so it can't get off. So I came up with a way to rig this so that it would set the hook for you when the fish bites. So let me show you how I do that. I'm going to use this branch right here as a demonstration, and we'll set it up and see how it works. This one's a little bit trickier because it involves a few more things. But like I said, it was a primitive idea, and believe it or not, I still like it. But now that I found the yo-yo and I added the spring to it, I don't really have a need for it anymore. So if you don't have access to yo-yos, you can try this out with just a simple spring. So the first thing that I do is I anchor my spring to the branch. In this case, since the branch is fairly thick, I'm just going to use a nail. And if you have a place that you fish regularly, you set this up once and it's there forever. So just take a nail, hammer it in there good enough just to nail it on, or to tie it to, I mean. Then you get your string. And I just make a little loop enough to tie to that nail. Nothing super long. If you look at these things closely, it has a little loop at the top, which looks ideal to tie to, but I always have the fear that somehow it may slip down if the spring is stretched it may slip off of there somehow. So I like to grab a few of the coils with my line. So it's tied right there, and it's actually grabbing a few of the coils and the top loop, just as a precaution. And you just tie it to your nail. And there it is. Okay, then you're going to take a second nail. You're going to estimate about how far down you want it, which I'm going to say is here is good. And take a pair of pliers, wire cutters, whatever, and go ahead and cut your nail. Get rid of the head. That allows you to stretch it. And see, I'm going to bend that down a little bit so it holds it where I want it. Yeah, that's better. Now it's caulked and ready to go. When the fish tag pulls on it, that recoil will set the hook, and then the fish will be tied on here, pulling on this all day long, wearing himself out. Same kind of concept as the yo-yo. So let me just bait this up and put the other half of the line on here. Yeah, I've actually used this setup for quite a few years. And I'd say the biggest fish I've caught on this setup was about a 40-pound flathead. I had a bluegill on as for bait. But he did destroy the spring. Can get this thing threaded. All right. So I just like to stretch it. Trap my line into the coils. Just like that. Just throw a few knots in there. Nothing fancy. That's plenty. Alright. I'm gonna bait this with shrimp. And put it to work. All right, there is the setup that I call the cat trap. We're gonna let it sit here for a while. I'm gonna go upstream and do a little fishing and come back, and we'll check it out and see what the results are. See you guys in a little bit.
All right, so we're gonna go check that cat trap that I set out earlier. I can see it from here, and it looks like something's on it. So. Well, not a big one at all. But look at how that hook, he was biting the shrimp. He was so small that it didn't even fit in his mouth, but he had it in such a way that when he released that trigger on that spring, it hooked him good. So this is my setup that I call the cat trap. It's just that simple spring. So all you got to do is just take that spring and put it in your line. And if you don't have a tree thick enough to put nails in, you can always just take a piece of wire, bend it in an L, and make it long enough to where you can set it and you have enough recoil. When the fish pulls it, the wire will slip out of the coil and it'll recoil. So that's my little demonstration of the cat trap. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry it wasn't a monster catfish, but the demonstration was more just to show that it did work, and obviously it did. So if you guys don't have access to fishing yo-yos, just get yourself a little spring and make yourself a cat trap. Of course, make sure fishing like that is legal in your part of the country. So as always, thank you for watching and take care. We'll see you next time.